everyone, good afternoon, and welcome back to Thorough Newspaper Analysis. Today is 1st of July, and this entire video series, it's brought to you by LawSikho. So now let's head to the agenda for today. The first segment for our discussion would be the editorial segment, and here we've covered this article, which is titled as "The Governor's Move, It is Dangerous and It is Unconstitutional." Very recently, the governor of the state of Tamil Nadu, he removed, rather dismissed a minister from the Council of Ministers without any sort of input coming from the chief minister of the state. So this is a very unprecedented and first of its kind move that our nation has seen. And the author calls it not only unconstitutional, but also a dangerous act. What are the constitutional provisions? What does the Supreme Court say on the governor's discretion? That is going to be our point of discussion. Now, the second segment is the news update segment. And thirdly, we talk about important legal developments of the day. So with this, let's dive into the TNA. And the first point of discussion would be this article, which is titled as "The Governor's Discretion, the Governor's Move, It is Dangerous and It is Unconstitutional." So let's start with the why of this article first. The governor of the state of Tamil Nadu, he has recently removed V. Senti Balaji, who is a minister in the Council of Ministers of the state. This move, it came about on 29th of June. However, later the night of that day, the governor, he backtracked the dismissal, and now the order of dismissal, it is kept in abeyance. Now, a question might arise as to why this dismissal in the first place. What has been the history of this particular minister? See, very recently, a couple of days back, he was arrested for a cash for job scam that came to the forefront a decade back while he was serving as a minister in the then government in the state of Tamil Nadu. And currently, he is being questioned by the Enforcement Directorate. But the current government in the state of Tamil Nadu, the government has decided to retain him in its Council of Ministers. So he is currently a minister in the government, but he does not have any portfolio, which has been because his portfolio it has been shifted to another minister. So therefore, in its communication, which is issued by the Raj Bhavan, it stated, and I quote, "There are reasonable apprehensions that the continuation of the minister in the Council of Ministers, this will adversely impact the due process of law, including fair investigation that may eventually lead to breakdown of the constitutional machinery in the state." Now, a question might arise as to, this seems to be a fair reason. So why this hue and cry? This is because of the route that has been taken by the governor. The governor, broadly speaking, does not have this sort of prerogative in the constitutional framework that we have. This is what the crux of the argument of the author here is. See, this unprecedented and deliberately provocative act of dismissing a minister of a government which enjoys an absolute majority in the state assembly without the recommendation of the chief minister, this is going to set a very dangerous precedent, and it has the potential to destabilize the state governments, putting the federal system in jeopardy. This is the concern that has been highlighted by the author. Now let's understand some of the constitutional provisions which, as per the author, are not in conformity with this move. So for that purpose, we have Article 164 of the Indian Constitution, which categorically in its first clause says that the chief minister of a state is appointed by the governor, and the governor then appoints the ministers of the Council of Ministers on the aid and advice of the chief minister. And further, the same article, the same clause says that these ministers so appointed, they are going to act at the pleasure of the governor. So we're going to take this term for our discussion later. But as of this moment, we need to understand this, that the chief minister is appointed by the governor. The governor appoints the other ministers, but on the aid and advice of the chief minister. So loosely speaking, we can say that the governor does not have any sort of discretion when it comes to the appointment of these ministers. So therefore, a reasonable corollary of this would be that the governor, since he does not have any discretion in the appointment, he should not as well have a discretion in the dismissal of the ministers. And who has the discretion in appointment? The chief minister. So the chief minister should be somebody who recommends the removal of a minister to the governor, who eventually takes the order, the formal step forward of the removal of such minister concerned. So that's what the author has said, that it is mandatory that the chief minister should be consulted before removing a minister, which has not been done in this particular case. Further, citing B.R. Ambedkar, the author has said that B.R. Ambedkar has categorically, unambiguously stated in the Constituent Assembly that there is no executive function which a governor can perform independently under the Indian Constitution. Now, there is this one thing that we need to understand, which is the doctrine of the pleasure doctrine. For that, we first need to understand this one section that is from the Act of 1935, the Government of India Act of 1935. I'm sure you would know that the constitution that we have as of this moment, a lot of its provisions are a replica or they are inspired by the provisions of the Government of India Act of 1935. There was this one section in that act, which is section number 51. We have two relevant clauses, clause number 1 and clause number 5. Section 51, clause number 1 says, the governor's ministers, they shall be chosen and summoned by him. They shall be sworn as ministers of the council and shall hold office during his pleasure. So this section, it makes it clear that the ministers shall be chosen by the governor, so they hold the office during the pleasure of the governor. Further, subsection 5 states, and I quote, and I say that the section states that the functions of the governor under the section with respect to the choosing and summoning and the dismissal of the ministers, and with respect to the determination of their salaries, it shall be exercised by him in his discretion. So what we can gather from these two provisions is that in 1935 Act, the governor had the discretion through and through. So governor had the discretion while appointing, governor had the discretion while summoning, while dismissing these ministers. So therefore, there the governor indeed had the discretion of removing a minister without any sort of consultation or recommendation from anybody for that matter. So here, if the governor in the present situation argues that since Article 164 also states that these ministers they are at the pleasure of the governor, so therefore I also have the discretion to sort of remove or dismiss any minister, but that cannot be argued because in our constitution we the pleasure of the governor under our constitution, insofar as it relates to the ministers, it is not the same that we saw in the colonial era. And it should be noted very categorically that much of the Act of 1935, as we've already seen, that it is reproduced in the Indian Constitution. But while we did so, while we made this article, we made certain alterations. We categorically removed words like chosen, dismissal, and discretion from Article 164, which were used in Section 51 of the 1935 Act. So therefore, it is a significant omission which makes it abundantly clear that the Constitution did not confer any discretion in the governor either in choosing the ministers and in removing or dismissing the ministers. This is just a formal sort of an expression. So by virtue of this expression that the governor, they are going to act or they are at the pleasure of the governor, here we mean that the governor is the formal head, under the constitution mechanism. So once the chief minister recommends the removal of any minister, the governor go ahead and do the formalities of the removal, but he does not have the discretion. Now let's understand some of the judicial precedents. First, we have the case of Samsher Singh and Nada versus the state of Punjab, which is in 1974 precedent, wherein a seven-judge constitution bench it held that the president and the governors they shall exercise their constitutional functions only upon the advice of the ministers. Second, we have the case of Nabam Rebia versus the deputy speaker, wherein it was held that the discretionary powers of the governor they're limited to those which are postulated under Article 163, Clause 1, which essentially says that the governor is going to act on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, which is headed by the Chief Minister. But in all of those cases where the Constitution gives the governor the power to exercise this discretion, there the governor can execute its function all or any in virtue of his own discretion, by virtue of his own discretion. So there the limited discretion where constitution itself gives, then the governor can exercise it, but otherwise it cannot. So therefore The parting note of the author says that the dismissal of a minister by the governor without the advice of the chief minister, this is constitutionally wrong. And with this, let's proceed to the next segment for today. And this has brought us to the national news category for today, with this being the first update. India, US, they are to launch joint mission to space in the year 2024. India has decided to join the Artemis Accords, which brings together like-minded nations with the objective of civil space exploration. The space agencies for both the nations, NASA and ISRO, they've agreed to conduct a joint mission in space in the next year for the benefit of human race. Artemis Accords, grounded in the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, these are a set of non-binding guidelines that seek to regulate space exploration and its use in the 21st century. Rajinder Singh Dhatt has been honored with the Points of Light Award for the year 2023. He has been the driving force behind the Undivided Indian Ex-Servicemen's Association, which is an organization focused on uniting British India War veterans. This award, it honors and the exceptional individuals like him who serve extraordinarily for the community, and it acknowledges their positive impact and aims to inspire others to find innovative solutions to social challenges. Indian men's football team, it climbs up to the 100th position on FIFA World Ranking. The Indian men's national football team, it has climbed further on the latest FIFA World Rankings, rising from 101st position to 100th position, surpassing nations and teams like Lebanon and New Zealand. This is the very first time that Blue Tigers have made it to the top 100 of the global rankings since December 2018, when they were at the 99th position. India plans to host mega air drills called Tarang Shakti. The Indian Air Force, it is preparing to host a mega exercise later this year, which is expected to bring together air forces of around 12 countries to improve interoperability, adopt best practices from each other, and share knowledge among the participating nations. The focus of this exercise, it will be on promoting military to military cooperation. World Bank President Ajay Banga, he is named in 2023 list of great immigrants. Ajay Banga, the president of World Bank, he has been recognized on the Carnegie Corporation of New York's annual Great Immigrants list. He is lauded for his contributions and efforts in enriching America and its democracy. With over 30 years of experience in key positions, the 63-year-old is expected to usher in transformative policies at the World Bank to combat challenges like poverty, address climate change, opening opportunities for people around the globe. Government releases draft rules for India's Green Credit Scheme. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, it has recently notified the draft Green Credit Program implementation rules for the year 2023. The proposed scheme, it aims to encourage individuals, industries, then farmers and farmer producers, organizations, urban local bodies, gram panchayats, private sectors, among others, to undertake environment-friendly actions such as planting trees, conserving water, waste management, reducing air pollution. By participating in these activities, the entities, they can earn tradable green credits that will be incentivized through a market-based mechanism. With this, we've come to the international segment for today, with this being the first update. Virgin Galactic, it successfully completes its first manned mission. Virgin Galactic, it has achieved a significant milestone as it successfully conducted its first commercial suborbital flight, which is called Galactic 1. Beyond its commercial significance, the Galactic 1 flight, it encompassed scientific objectives as well. The crew members, they plan to complete or to collect valuable biometric data, evaluate cognitive performance, and study how some liquids and solids they behave under microgravity. With this, we proceed to the next segment, which is the last segment, where we talk about an update coming from the Calcutta High Court. The Calcutta High Court has recently dismissed a criminal application for modification of judgment and held that no judgment or final order which is pronounced by a court can be altered or reviewed once it has been signed, except to correct a clerical or arithmetic error. The court also observed that the same it is made abundantly clear in section 362 of the CRPC as well. The name of this particular matter is Deepak Kumar Mondal and others versus the state of West Bengal. And this has brought us to the last segment, to an end of the TNA. In case you want to get access to the free study material that LawSikho provides, or the TNA slides that have been used in this video, please feel free to join our Telegram channel, and for the same purpose, you may click on the link which is provided in the description, or you may scan the barcode here. These are the point of contacts in case you want to get in touch with LawSikho. Also, the TNA quiz, it is made available for your kind consideration in the description of this video. Please go ahead and attempt the same. Thank you for being with us.